Hey, welcome to the Propaganda Expert podcast or video cast or whatever you want to hear it. Podcast used to be audio. Now everybody calls everything a podcast. But it doesn't matter because I'm here to talk about how you can apply propaganda elements, propaganda ingredients to business, to your business, to someone's business, because the people don't like to call it propaganda because people are dumb. Propaganda is not a bad word. Propaganda comes from back uh, in the early days when the cavemen were painting tigers on the caves to let people know, hey, there's a tiger out there. Or maybe there wasn't a tiger, maybe they were just painting a tiger to scare people so people wouldn't go and see a bunch of food that had stashed. We don't know. We really don't know, but that's what propaganda is. It's just a series of messages, whether it be visual, audio, just even a concept that you can implant. And you use that in order to get people to do something or not do something. And it's used against us or it's used for you or you use it, but you can't just because you don't like it. Oh, I don't like propaganda. Now, since you don't like it, now it stops existing. That's a stupid way of looking at the world. And if you don't apply these propaganda concepts to your business, to your life, then they're just used against you anyway. So it doesn't matter what you think or like or don't like. You don't have any power to change anything. This is the way it has been and the way it will continue to be. But just to tell you about propaganda not being a bad word, the actual word started when the Catholic Church wanted to propagate the teachings of their religion, and they actually established an actual department. That's when it started really becoming organized. They established an actual department of propaganda to go out in the world and make people see that their religion was the only true religion. And that's where propaganda comes from. And from there, it's been used for really positive purposes. For example, you can warn people, hey, don't build your home in that cliff because when it rains, your home is going to, come down and to the ground. And that's a really positive way of propagating an idea because then people say, hey, they didn't think about that. I better not build it there. Although today people don't care. They still build it there and the house falls and then they get an insurance check and they rebuild it right there. So propaganda is meant to help us warn us of things that are dangerous, things that affect us as a whole, as a community, as a mass. It also has been used for nefarious purposes. We know in every war, there's propaganda. Actually, you cannot win a war without propaganda. I mean, you can, do whatever you want with the military and all of that. But if you don't win the hearts and the minds of people, that war will never end. And I think we've seen that in the world. Wars that go on for years and years and years are because, yes, the military won control of a geographical space, but they never got this, they never got the heart. So what happens? The war continues and people rebuild their ideas and they continue fighting because the fight is within. So that's why every war needs propaganda. It needs to implant a concept that we have defeated you. And if people don't feel defeated inside, then they will continue to externalize that feeling and they will continue fighting. So wars will go on and on and on. Some wars you want people to go on and on and on, and some others you want to end. So when you want to end a war, you have to win here. If you win here, the war is over. Even if the military doesn't win, you can win a war without firing a shot if you beat them here. So to apply some of these propaganda, because propaganda is it's an actual science. It's not just weird messaging and posters and all of no propaganda has an actual science to it. It has an actual there has actual steps, ingredients that make up what it is propaganda. And marketing is part of propaganda. Public relations, that's part of propaganda. Anything you can think of that you already do for your business is a part of propaganda. Propaganda is the umbrella of the concept, saying, hey, I want people to do such and such. So I'm going to market and use marketing to get them to buy a product or to get a service. That's what propaganda is, and public relations is part of propaganda. Is just being able to spin information in order to fit an agenda or to fit certain reputation, either damaging or protective things. So propaganda is the umbrella of all marketing, of all public relations, of everything you do. Propaganda is the main concept because propaganda, even though it's been misused, it also supposed to help you. So, for example, we don't brush our teeth because it feels good, because it's great, because we like, oh, can't wait to brush my teeth. We brush our teeth because we don't want our teeth to go bad. We don't want to have toothaches. We don't want to have ugly looking teeth. We don't want bad breath. We're afraid of what not brushing our teeth entails. So propaganda allows you to deliver a message if you're a toothpaste company or a toothbrush company and go, hey, if you don't brush your teeth, you're going to lose your teeth. If you don't brush your teeth, you're going to have bad breath. If you don't brush your teeth, you're going to end up with pain in the dentist. If you don't brush your teeth, your life will go to hell. Brush your teeth. That's propaganda. That's propaganda. But there's no commercial for toothpaste that says, oh, brushing your teeth, so great. It's like a vacation in your mouth. Never heard that. Because people brush their teeth out of fear, not out of pleasure, which are the two things that propaganda plays on: pleasure, fear, pleasure, fear. So just to start, emotional appeal. These are the three things that every propaganda campaign needs: is an emotional appeal. It needs to be simple. It needs to be repetitive. Emotional appeal is when you touch that emotion, that fear or that pleasure. It's like, if you do this, you'll get this pleasure. If you do that, that's going to be bad. That's a fear. Sometimes great campaigns can put them both into one. If you do this, great pleasure. But hey, if you don't do that, great fear. And if you put that into one message, that's an emotional appeal. People will take action. They don't want fear and they want pleasure. So you've given them the solution with whatever it is that your message is. The second thing is simplification. It needs to be simple. People will not understand complex messages, or they will take complex messages and they will take them to a place they don't need to go. For example, if your message is so complex that people are now thinking, wow, that was really complex message. I think what it meant was blah, blah, blah. They will tailor that message to fit their own biases. So you don't want that. You want your message to be simple, because that message simplicity won't allow for any kind of creative imagination to take that message recipient into a place that they don't need to go. Brush your teeth or your life will go to hell. Now there is no room for, well, if I brush them sometimes, then maybe. No, there's no thinking here. It's like, I got to brush my teeth now. And you want to take away options in your messaging, and you want to keep it very, very one bullet hit. Like, you don't want a lot of imagination to take over and allow people to interpret the message. You want the interpretation to be embedded in the message. Obviously, it gets a little bit deeper than that. We won't get into that now, but for example, when you talk about concept implanting and things like that, where it still needs to be simple. That's the basics. That's the bottom line. But you can implant several simple principles into a concept that people will think that they thought of it, and but it still needs to be simple. Without the simplicity, you will never ever win in any campaign, not in any influence campaign, if you want to be successful at it. And the third is the repetition. Repetition is when you are just over and over and over again hitting them with that simple message that touches their emotion. One, bump, bump, don't stop. And see, you think, that's enough. No, it's never enough. If you're not willing to do it forever, then you're not willing to repeat it. You have to, when you talk about repetition, a lot of businesses make a mistake of doing it for a little bit, saying, oh, that, well, we did do repetition. Is I know, if you did repetition in the past tense, you did not do repetition. You have to be willing to go for that long haul. Like, if you're not willing to do it forever, and forever is a long time, if you're not willing to start and go that route with that mentality that we're going to repeat this message forever, then you're not going to repeat it enough. You need to hit the repetition button non-stop. You need to loop that message non-stop. It needs to be simple, hit their emotions, simple, hit their emotions over and over and over again. There is no stopping. So when I say repetition, the simplest message, the dumbest message, the most ineffective message with enough repetition will become something that people believe and live by. But you need, when I say repetition, is not how many times that if you already are trying to figure out how many times or how long, you already lost the repetition element. You need to go, this is a message that touches emotion. It's a simple message. Now we're going to repeat it. Repeat it does not have a end time. And if it does, it's not because of you. So that those are the three elements: emotional appeal, simplification, and repetition to have a really successful campaign. Now, today we have a lot of different channels to get this message. Moving into now, you know what to do. You need to be emotionally appealing. You need to be simple, and you need to repeat it. But where? Where do you go? And people say, "Oh, well, you gotta find your niche audience," and that is part of it. But where do you start? Where do you start? Sometimes your niche audience is reached through a different audience that was not the intended audience. For example, you want to reach parents to buy toys. You don't go to the parents, even though that's your audience. You go to the kids, and the kids will convince their parents to buy the toy. So that's why you cannot just go to your audience. There's nothing more effective than having a third party do it for you. It just is something trustworthy about it. It's something more trustworthy from reading a review of a restaurant from a third party that says this food is great than from the restaurant telling me our food is great. There's something more like, wow, if this person is willing to evangelize this restaurant, to propagate this message of this restaurant, that must be good. Now, if the restaurant's telling me, it's like, well, I expect you to tell me. So there's a bias there, and we all don't trust it as much. So the channels, obviously, we have print media, we have digital, and we have broadcast. There are many other channels, obviously, about how you go about propaganda. Word of mouth is probably one of the most powerful channels and one of the most expensive, hardest to reach, because in today's day and age with the bombardment of all this information, it's hard to get to that word of mouth. But if you can get there, nothing beats that. Nothing beats reputation harder than the perspective of an individual. So word of mouth is the number one. But right now we have three really accessible ones, which is print, digital, and broadcast. We know print, newspapers, um, all of those things, blogs, but also billboards. They're a sort of print media, brochures, all of that. Digital media, we know Facebook, social media, all of those places where you create content like here. And then broadcast media. Broadcast media, the difference between broadcast and digital is that broadcast has a lot of protectors. You can't just go to ABC, NBC, or one of those channels and go, hey, play my commercial. You can't just knock on their door and say, hey, play it. So they have guardians of getting there. And that makes it a lot more, that exclusivity and the fact that it's more expensive, it makes it less accessible. So it's a big filter to people that are not at that caliber. And most people are discouraged from even trying to go into a big broadcast media world because of the expenses, how hard it is, the gatekeepers. And then they do this on purpose. If not, you can just go to their website and put your ad there like you do with Facebook or Instagram. So the exclusivity and the hard reach keep broadcast media, even in today's digital age, as a place of authenticity. It'll put you as an authority if you can get there. So that's the reason that there's so many guardians and so many gatekeepers because you don't want to lose the fact that, oh, if you're here in this broadcast media, if you're ABC, NBC, Fox, or one of the big ones, you must be an authority in what you do. And that's the smokes and mirrors where if you can get there, then you will become an authority because people will believe what they hear in these big networks. And Spanish is huge, where if you can get on Univision or Telemundo, the two big networks in the United States, people, 80% of people will believe anything you say. It's just flat out what it is. And their news networks and those Spanish channels are very, very powerful because their narrative is never questioned. Their narrative is fact. It doesn't matter what it is. So people that are older generations or just people that don't speak maybe the English language fluently or don't at all, or whatever reason, just cultural. There's people that have been in the United States 30 years, don't speak English, and this is their avatar. This is the place that they feel identified. Telemundo and Univision, and whatever that newscaster says, that usually are people that have been working there 40 years, so they're very very familiar. Whatever they say is true. They say, hey, tomorrow is going to rain cows, and these cows are going to rain in your house. Stay inside your house. You don't want to get hit by one of these cows. They will stay inside their house, and you can try to tell them, "Hey, it's not going to rain cows," and they will look at you like you're crazy, some kind of anti-information weirdo, right? And then the next day, you're like, "Hey, how were the cows? There was no rain of cows." They would actually still defend the point of view of that broadcast channel, as in, oh, they said that it was in other areas, or they'll say it did rain cows, it did, and there's no argument against that. I mean, how much propaganda can affect you lifetime? That's a big example on how these networks, the Spanish networks, have a grasp on a lot of people, and people will believe them for until they die. They're just gonna believe whatever these networks say, and that's fine. That's what propaganda is. You want to reach that audience, you want to capture it, and you want to keep it, and they're doing a good job at it. Whether it's positive or negative, that's up to the person to judge. I mean, propaganda is just a tool, and you can use that tool for good or for bad. You can nail a nail with a hammer on the wall so you can hang a painting, or you can hit somebody with the hammer. The hammer is just a tool. You're the user, and the recipient of that getting hit with the hammer is going to judge that hammer whether it's a good tool or not. Um, Moving on to symbols and imagery that are really, really huge in propaganda, and you need to apply these to your business. Is obviously we know logos. So is a logo is what represents your company, and hopefully it's visual. Hopefully your logo doesn't need words, but if it does, it doesn't matter. As long as your logo is linked to the idea of your business. Your logo shouldn't be your business. The logo is linked to the idea of what your business does. So um, your logo goes very, very hand in hand with your company's tagline. You know, when we hear Apple's old slogan, "Think different," and they blasted it everywhere. They repeated it everywhere. Repetition. Apple knows about repetition, so they blasted it everywhere with the little apple that was bitten, right? And the apple has there's a lot of symbols there in the apple. We know Adam and Eve, and they bit the apple, so they got all this knowledge that they were not supposed to have. So Apple's telling you this is the apple, this is the apple that Adam and Eve bit, and they put that in the logo, and it says "Think different." Now it's making you think different just on the fact that it's suggesting that you think different. Nike, just do it, and it's just a check mark, right? And that's it. It's just simple, and they repeat it just nonstop for just years and years. So just do it. Just become synonymous of Nike, and Nike now all it needs is a check mark, that curved check mark. That is their logo. That's the simplest, most effective way of linking your product, your service to people, is just having that simple thing that you think you actually want to be uncomfortably thinking that it's too simple. It's like, wow, this is too simple. That's the one. That's the one. If it says what it is and it's too simple, that's the one. And it does not have to do with your business. Just do it has nothing to do with having the most comfortable shoes. And think different doesn't have to do with having the best computers with the fastest processor. Nothing of that. There are ideas that inspire you. There are concepts that are implanted in you for you to say, just do it. Yeah, I want to go for that jog. And when I think of that jog, I think of these Nike shoes. But you don't. They don't even need to go there. You do that on your own. You do the work for them by yourself. And obviously, the visual imagery, such as photos, videos, infographics, are huge because you are giving people information where the source is very questionable. You see them all the time. The news might pop up. 63% of Americans think you'd never even stop to question, like, who did this poll. 63% of Americans, how many people they interviewed, what is the sample, is there a control sample here? I mean, you don't think of the source when they're giving you this infographic because they're putting it right in your face. And when you say 63% of Americans, you already are assuming that what I'm saying is a fact. And I might just be making it up because, as we all know, 78% of people don't check facts. And I just made that up. But it doesn't matter because you have to take it for what it is, or people are too lazy to go do the research and say, let me look into that. Like, what's the source? And sometimes they don't give you the source. So how do you even find whether this information is legit or not? And sometimes the source, even if you find the source, you find that that source is really not a good source or a source that could be credible. But that's only if you do the homework, and 98% of people won't do the homework. Um, Moving into some psychological techniques that you can apply for your business so you can have some success, so you can actually take your business and stop struggling because you're competing against companies that are huge, and these competitors are using all of these techniques and putting a lot of money behind them, and you're over here trying to be this honest, hardworking person, and you think people are just going to walk into your store because you're nice. And yeah, that one person might do that, but do you really want to just struggle to pay your bills or your business, or just meet payroll, or just to grow, or just to lose your job because people say you're not doing the job you need to do because you suck at what you're doing, and the numbers say that you haven't been growing. I don't know. I don't know what your fear is, but you need to take advantage of these techniques that have come from way before any of us were born, and they've been implemented over and over again, whether it's be through religion or through whatever. Religion is a method of control. Religion gives you a set of principles that you got to live by, and each religion is going to tell you either you do these principles under our guidelines, or you're going to some bad place, or something bad's going to happen to you. And that's where propaganda really started. And right now it's more about, hey, you either use my product or something bad's going to happen to you. However, if you use my product, you're going to have all the pleasure you want. And those are the things that if you're not implementing those psychological techniques for your business, you're losing. I guarantee you're not growing. I guarantee you, as you see time, it's like keeping money under the mattress. Yeah, that dollar you put under the mattress, now it's not worth a dollar. So the same thing, if your business, if you continue doing the same marketing techniques and the same thing, and then, no, I just want to be the honest, and like, well, then do that. Then you'll be out of business in 10 years. You'll leave nothing for your kids. Your kids can't take over a business that's just failing. So now your kids are going to be victims to propaganda outside of your business and outside of your family, and now they're going to be influencing what you think. Now, instead of you being the provider and the one that's giving the information and passing it down to other generations, the new generations are coming up, educated in these universities that have already propagated some information into their brains that you can't even fight against. And say, hey, no, in the university we learned this, and you're antiquated and you're hateful because we allowed the younger generations take over. It used to be where there was a hierarchy, and then the older generations will always have a pull on the younger generations and an influence. Now it's the other way around. Older generations are being influenced by the younger generations, and the younger generations know nothing. They don't know anything. All they know is what they've been told through social media. Where else do they learn information? Not from experience. So I've went to a tangent there, but to go into the psychological techniques that you can apply for your business, the bandwagon effect, very famous in propaganda, which is everybody wants to jump in the bandwagon. That's just, no one wants to get left behind, because who wants to be that outsider? Who wants? Yeah, everybody gets on the bus and they don't know where they're going, but they're on the bus and they're like, hey, come on, get on. And you're like, no, no, thanks. you look like the crazy one. It's like, no, everybody wants to get on the bus. That's the bandwagon. You wanna go where everyone is going. You don't want to be that person left behind and then have to catch up. And that fear of missing out is like, well, what if they're going somewhere that I need to be? All of that is what bandwagon is. But you can use that to gain customers, clients, whatever you need to influence people. The bandwagon is where you leave those reviews, and they're all 5-star reviews. Everybody says the food is delicious. Oh my God, this is the best food I ever had. Oh my God, you got to try the blah, blah, blah food. Oh my God, their menu is so amazing. Oh my God, this place is the best. And then now people don't want to, it's going to be hard to leave a 1-star review for a restaurant that has 700 5-star reviews because you don't want to be outside of the bandwagon. However, in the opposite, if someone leaves one-star review and they say this place is horrible, another person is going to jump in that bandwagon and say, yeah, this place sucks. And the next thing you know, all are 1-star reviews. And you won't be able to get a positive review because no one's going to want to go against that bandwagon. So the bandwagon could be used for or against you. Now, when you have the bandwagon, is what are all the cool kids wearing? What are all the cool kids listening to? What's cool? What are the cool kids doing? And when I say cool kids, I mean what's the masses? What are people? What's the trend? What's the trend right now? Everybody's in TikTok. Let's go to TikTok. You're not in TikTok? Oh, why? What? You crazy? It's like they make, other people are going to do TikTok's job, making other people feel bad for not being on TikTok. Like there's some kind of dinosaur. Like, you're not on TikTok? Like, what is wrong with you? And it's like, no, what's wrong with you? Everybody's on TikTok. Look at me. I'm not. I'm the cool kid. I'm the one that's special. But the bandwagon, you can use that for your business to get every client is getting this. Every client needs this. Or our service, our most popular service is this. Popular services are really important because you can tell people. A lot of people don't know what to do, so you need to let them know. Well, I'm not telling you what to do, but most people do this. So when you hear, oh, most people do that, they're not going to be able to do something else now. Now they got to do what most people do because what would they be stupid and do what other people don't do? So the bandwagon is very important for you to apply for your business, for your products. Everybody's getting it. Everybody loves it because you want to be part of everybody. The fear appeals. That's, obviously you're using fear to drive action. So, when you have the ring camera, right? It actually, everybody's getting the ring camera, right? So you're already going in the bandwagon. You got to get the ring camera. You got to put it in your front doorbell because what if someone tries to break in and everybody got the ring, but now not getting the ring, and somebody breaks in, how unfortunate that you didn't have the ring. Oh wow, something that it could have been prevented. Now a tragedy happens in your home because of your lack of taking action. Something so simple and you just refuse to take action. That's what that fear is that fear of, if I don't do this now, I am a bad person. And you have to hit that emotion of bad person. You want to make people feel bad about not taking action. Not just, oh, when people say, oh, let me think about it, I'll call you later. No, that's not good enough. Later, there is no later. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't do this now, you will be a horrible person for the rest of your life. Obviously, you don't say that to someone, but you imply it through your messaging. And it sounds, oh, well, you're manipulating people into doing. Yes, yes, you are. That's what marketing and advertising is. It's manipulating people. So if people stop being stupid and thinking that marketing and advertising is all about the welfare of the society, then we're gonna be a better place when we stop thinking that. Marketing and advertising is about influencing you to buy shit you don't want, stuff you don't need, to be afraid of things that are not really scary, to seek pleasures that are not really pleasurable. And we need to really, really just come to grasp of that. That really, really irks me because it's like, yo, stop being dumb. That commercial does not care about you. They don't even know you're watching it. They're assuming you were going to watch it. That's why you're getting it. But they don't know you're watching it. That commercial doesn't care about you. Whoever's on that screen telling you to buy something or do something or giving you information about 72% of Americans, they don't care about you. Everybody's getting paid on that screen. And I think until we lose the fear of going against that grain, until we lose the fear of going in the bandwagon, your business will continue to be just a mediocre business at best. Those big companies, they don't get to be big because they care about you. They get to be big because they influence the masses. And masses took major action and made them rich. And they do it over and over again for years and years until their brand is indestructible. And if you're not willing to build an indestructible brand that might take you 30 years to do, and you don't have that repetition stamina to go 30, 40 years repeating a message, then you're not going to make it. And you probably already figured that out. You probably figured that out yourself already. But I'm telling you, it don't have to be that way. You can do that right this second. You can say, you know what, let me change my perception on what this marketing and advertising is. It's really propaganda. So what are the techniques that I can apply right this moment to start putting out this message? Maybe you got to send a tweet every day saying, my service is the best service every day for the rest of your life to make it happen. And it will happen. It will happen, but you have to be committed to that repetition, long-term goals. Um, we talked a little bit about the target audience. And the target audience, like I said, a lot of times it's not your target. And those are the most effective. But if you need to target an audience and you're obviously selling recycled paper, who do you go to? You know, who do you go to that audience? You go to people that are into the environment, people that recycle, obviously, people that care about things like the planet. And sometimes you got to expand a little more. So, who are these people? I probably can estimate that a lot of vegans care about the planet. And I don't know this. I'm not even looking at a study. I can just make that estimation based, or that I can make that conclusion based on the fact that most vegans are there because they feel this is something they needed to do, right? Whether it be spiritual, whether it be because they don't like the animal cruelty, whether for health reasons, all of those things are things that vegans are embraced. So their environment is very important to them. That's the reason they don't eat meat or animal byproducts. Because if it's for health reasons, some people shouldn't eat certain things. They still eat them. They don't care. You know, oh, you have diabetes, you still eat sugar. Yeah, some people do. Some people stop altogether. But what I mean is, I'm making that conclusion. So my target audience, if I'm selling recycled paper and I target vegans, I'm not really far off that that person that will buy that paper, because a vegan will spend a little bit more money buying food because they need their nutrition, so they have to supplement a lot and they have to eat. They have to be creative in where they get their food. I can make another conclusion that most vegans are also people that buy organic, because obviously they care enough not to eat meat. They're probably going to care enough not to have pesticides in their food. So now I'm creating a profile of the type of person who's going to buy this recycled paper. So if you eat organic food and you're a vegan, most likely, hey, this paper is your paper. Yes, it costs more. Just like those tomatoes you bought cost 3 times more than the GMO tomatoes. But it's good for you. This is good for the planet. This is good for you because you are doing something that spiritually will be rewarding. That's how target audiences work. It's not just, oh, I'm selling recycled paper. I'm going to sell this to everybody that buys paper. Because most people that buy paper, even though that in theory will be your audience, most people that buy paper, they're probably going to buy it off of pricing, second, quality, and third, if there's an ecological element to it, they might consider it, but they probably won't. Because when you eat, for example, there's 2 types of people. People that eat regular food and people that eat low fat, low calorie, no sugar food. Those people that eat that, no sugar, low calorie, they're a type of people, the person, they feel that they're reducing their health risk by going there. Now, the people that eat the regular food, they don't want the no sugar, no, low. They don't want that. That goes against, they want deliciousness. They don't want all of this healthy stuff. And the people that want healthy stuff, they don't want all that grease or fat or sugar. So there's two types of people. So if you care about the environment, that's one person. And then you cannot appeal to people that don't. You're not going to convince everyone to, hey, pay more for paper so you can have this recycled paper. They're not going to do it. They're not. There's too many options for them. So just your target audience should be that target audience. Then you expand from there into, well, who are the vegans married to? What kind of people are vegans married to? And you start creating profiles of, well, they most likely drive an electric vehicle or a hybrid. If I'm a car salesperson, I probably target a lot of vegans. If I'm a car salesperson of electric vehicles, obviously if they don't eat meat and they buy organic food and they care about the environment, they gotta have this electric vehicle. It's the right thing to do. Spiritual or whatever, this is the right thing to do. So that profile starts building. That's how you build an audience. Or like I said, if you want parents to buy toys, talk to their kids. The kids will do that for you. They sell the toys for you. Um, and, and just to not make this even longer, I didn't expect to go this long, but propaganda is not bad. That's the first thing you got to get off your head. People used to think eating 10 slices of bread. I remember the food pyramid. The food pyramid in school, they would teach it to you, and it had like all this bread on the top. And the food pyramid, I don't know if they even still do that in products, but in products, they would put this pyramid of like, what you should eat as a human being to be healthy. In the 2000 calorie diet and all of these things, they're propaganda. No one knows. No one knows for sure. Every day there's a study that comes out that coffee is bad for you. The next day, another study comes out, coffee is great. The next day, coffee is bad. The next one, makes you smarter. The next one, coffee gives you cancer. The next one, coffee stops cancer. But look at the source. Most of the great coffee surveys or coffee studies are sponsored by companies affiliated with coffee companies. And most of the bad ones are affiliated with environmental companies that feel that the harvesting of coffee not only is bad for the planet, but they also take advantage of a lot of people in these countries, poor countries, to they exploit these people and kids to harvest this coffee just to feed us here. And other people say, well, it's creating jobs. It's never ending. That's what propaganda is. Propaganda doesn't want the messaging to stop at a conclusion. It wants you to continue the fight, because that's how propaganda stays alive. If there's no war, there is no propaganda. So you need that constant war and conflict against products and services and people and borders and politics, and all of that keeps the propaganda machine. It keeps marketers with jobs. It keeps public relations people protecting reputations. It keeps promotional items being promoted. It keeps Facebook running because people buy ads in order to give you their propaganda messaging. It's never ending. It's beyond an industry. It's a way of life. And everything we do is because we've been influenced to do so. There are very few things that we do because we feel is the right thing. And that's thanks or because propaganda. And it's not a bad thing. It's a tool. Now, if you want to hit somebody with a hammer, that's one thing. You want to use that hammer to nail things on the wall and posters and pictures, hang pictures, do that too. It doesn't make the hammer good or bad. So until next time, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more. I have a lot that I learned, even because I work at this. I do things that I can't even mention because of the nature of what I do. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm learning, and I'm like, and I see the masses, stupidity, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. It's just the masses, the bandwagon. It's like it's impossible to go, hey, everybody, hey, get off the bandwagon. You can't do that. So, but I see it every day in what I do, and the money that's being pumped into keeping people in certain bandwagons, it's insane. And the people believe anything they see or hear at any given moment. To me, it's just outrageous. I mean, but if you can't beat them, join them. If you can't really stop that, then maybe you can apply some of those techniques and get your business going and get yourself going. Because a lot of these techniques, once you open up that propaganda third eye and you start seeing these commercials and you start hearing the news and you start seeing these political ads, and you start seeing, wow, wow, you can see propaganda right in front of you every second of the day. Every poster you look at, every when you go to the store, every brand, every logo, it's just propaganda just hitting you in the face nonstop. So next time, make sure you subscribe. I'm mostly active I try to be active on YouTube, but really I'm mostly active on X, just because it's just easier, and it's you don't have to post a picture every time in Instagram and compete with other people and their propaganda. So on X, I feel like I don't care if I get one like or 10,000 likes. It's just more. It's like almost like a journal a lot. So this is a way of me just kind of expressing my feelings into what I think, and I don't care. I really don't care what people think. And like, unfortunately, that's a gift and a curse, but it is what it is. So until next time, I'm gonna be out, and I'll see you around. If you got any comments, you can leave them, and I try to be really responsive because I don't get a lot. So I'm like, I try to just every comment just fix it, and whether good or bad, and establish some kind of relationship conversation. So until next time, I'm out. Peace.